What's up, Mecha fans, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are talking about the latest Gundam game to release, and that is Gundam Seed Battle Destiny Remastered. Now, technically, this is not a new game, it is a remastered version of the PlayStation Vita game of the same name that released back in 2012. But for a lot of people, myself included, this will be your first time ever playing this game. The question I'm sure you all have is it worth picking up? Is it worth buying at the £32.99 asking price? Well, today we're going to take a look at the game and we're going to talk about that very question. But before I dive into my thoughts, I want to hear from you guys. So head on down to the comment section below. If you've played this game, then let me know your thoughts on it. If not, do you plan on picking it up? And will this review sway you either direction? Also, while you're there, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you are a fan of Mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. And without further ado, let us dive into the game and talk about it. Now, for those familiar with this channel, you'll probably be aware that I am a big fan of the Gundam Seed section of the franchise, whether that's Seed, Seed Destiny, Seed Stargazer, Seed Freedom. I just love the cosmic era of Gundam. I'm kind of looking at this game both as a video game, judging it on those terms, but also, like, at its core, in my heart, I look at this game as a Seed game. I look at this as a means of reinvesting myself almost in these stories, in this franchise, with these mobile suits, with these characters, and in that regard, I had a really fun time with this. I think that if you are a fan of the Cosmic Era, this game will speak to you a lot more than either other Gundam fans or just gamers in general. So ultimately, the decision of whether or not to buy this game will kind of come down to that. If you don't like the Seed franchise, you're not really going to get much out of this game, but if you love Seed, then you'll get like a good amount out of it, especially for the price that it's at. What makes it an enjoyable gameplay experience as well is that it's so easy to jump into. The mechanics are fairly straightforward, it's nothing too complex, but for that very reason, you can kind of jump in and out of this game. I was playing it on the Nintendo Switch, and I've played it solely portable, and I've loved playing it that way because it's a game that's so easy to jump in and just play like a mission or two, and like I said, it is straightforward. It's easy to pick up on those mechanics. You can go from one game to another sort of thing where, you can jump into this game and you'll pick up on those mechanics very, very easily again. And it's also kind of challenging in ways as well. Like, it's not, Dark Souls-like kind of levels of challenging by any means, but, there's a little bit of a challenge level to it, especially when you get into some of those higher difficulty levels where you do have to think more about, are you going to like engage someone up close where you're potentially going to get hit more or get shot more and there's not as much room for maneuvering. You kind of have to think about those things just a little bit more. There's a level of challenge that kind of adds an extra layer of enjoyment to it. But also, like I said, it's easy to jump into and play, and it's just fun. It's nothing too complicated. It is simple, like melee combat and shooting mechanics and moving around and flying towards enemies, locking onto them. Like I said, simple stuff, nothing too complex, but sometimes you just need those kind of games that are just easy to jump into. And what really helps with that is the fact that this game generally runs smoothly. I noticed no like game breaking bugs. There's maybe frame drops here and there, but it's nothing too substantial. And it's almost something that you would expect on a portable device anyway. If there are major hiccups in terms of frames and glitches or anything like that, it's much less noticeable on a smaller screen. So you're playing it on the Switch on portable mode and you're not going to notice those frame drops quite as much as you would, playing it on a big TV. So I don't know what the lag is going to be like there, because like I said, I've only played it portably, but playing it portably, I had no issues whatsoever. With that said, even though it does run smoothly, I think that the combat is a little bit too slow for my liking, but I almost expect that from a 13-year-old Gundam game. And let's face it, if you're a fan of Gundam, if you're a fan of Gundam games as well, we all know that they are not the highest quality of video games out there. It's kind of hard to recommend Gundam games to non-Gundam fans because at the end of the day, that is mainly what they're tailored towards. They're tailored to, in the grand scheme of the gaming community at large, a very small section of an audience. So they don't put the most investment into it. You're never really getting a full-on, high quality AAA Gundam game. It's more so AA experiences, which can sometimes still be really good and fun. Gundam Breaker 4 I had a fantastic time with, an SD Gundam Battle Alliance I absolutely love. So there's plenty of Gundam games out there that even though they're more AA experiences, they still provide a fun time. And I think Seed Battle Destiny kind of sits right alongside those. I personally don't like it as much as Gundam Breaker 4 or SD Gundam Battle Alliance because I think it's just a little bit slower in terms of the combat. But again, it is technically a 13-year-old game, and whilst there are fixes made to it to, of course, kind of upscale it and make the visuals look a little bit better, which we'll talk about in a moment, at the end of the day, it's still maintaining the same spirit of the style of combat. So what is slow now might not have been quite as slow back then. It just ages with time, and it's a case of, do you stay faithful to that original version or do you drastically change it up? And generally from what I've seen of this game and seen of the original game, they chose not to change it up drastically, which isn't a bad thing. Speaking of the visuals, I think they look really good. Now, again, I played this on a Switch, on portable. Of course, everything looks just a little bit better on a smaller screen because you don't pick up on those, minor nuances of details and, visual fidelity and such. So the game for me looks really good. I think it manages to capture the visual style and the mobile suits and the character designs really well. Like in terms of the character designs, it's just ripping PNG images out of the anime and out of all the other content that we've got from Seed. But in terms of the mobile suits, they all look really good in kind of 3D poly looks. And also one thing I do like about it, which someone else mentioned, which I heard somewhere, is that they don't opt to make like these kind of realistic backgrounds. Everything is within this visual style of Gundam Seed. So the mobile suits don't look out of place, if that makes sense. Everything is of the same style, so visually it blends really nicely together. So I think going that route of making everything visually in line with one another just makes the whole thing look better. It's just way nicer on the eyes. But what would a Gundam game be without a wide array of mobile suits? I feel like at this point it is a given that every Gundam game will have a significant amount of mobile suits within it. It is always a question though of how much do they differentiate? How different do those mobile suits feel? And with Seed Battle Destiny, I can happily say that there's a wide range of mobile suits, and they all generally play just slightly differently from one another. Now, there are some that play significantly different than others, but some mobile suits that are maybe a little bit more similar, like, for example, Strike and then a Force Impulse, or just specifically the normal Impulse, those two are going to play quite similar because they are similar type of mobile suits and they use similar kind of weaponry. They have similar packs to them as such. Like ultimately, the Impulse is the Seed Destiny version of the Strike, so it makes sense that gameplay wise they play quite similarly. But then you'll take Aegis, for example, that was going to play a little bit differently to the Strike because they're two different mobile suits. And then you pull in like the Legend Gundam, for example, that's going to play drastically differently to the Strike because it's using the Dragoon packs. So it's these kind of things where the gameplay very nicely matches the mobile suits. So whilst there are similarities here and there between ones, all those kind of similarities make sense, and they do things that complement the mobile suit and their ability. And then as for how many there are in this game, there's about 115 in total. And that's just from the Seed franchise. And you got to think this is a corner of the Gundam franchise at large. So to get like 115 mobile suits or whatever it is in this game is really fantastic because you're pulling things from Seed Destiny, from Astray, from Stargazer, from the MSV stuff as well. And you got to keep in mind that at this point, there is not, Seed Freedom involved. So there's not those mobile suits in here. This is all stuff like pre-2012 in terms of the Gundam Seed franchise. So there's really a lot to go at. They really packed a lot of mobile suits into this game, and I've probably not even unlocked half of them yet. So they don't just give you them all right out of the gate. You've got to work through things and earn them, and it feels good that way because you are actually working towards earning something in the game. And if you want the Strike Freedom, there's quite a lot that you got to play through in order to get that. Me personally, I don't even have that mobile suit yet. So if you are concerned about the amount of content in Seed Battle Destiny, then worry not because there's plenty to go at. Moving on to some negatives now, and these are not like super negative type of things, they're more so complementing some of the positives that I've said and almost like opposing some of those. And first off, this isn't an amazing game. It's quite clunky in terms of how it plays, and it's also very basic. The combat, like I said, it's simple and the gameplay is generally simple, but for that very reason, whilst that can be a positive, it is also a negative because it's a basic game. There's not a whole lot of complexity to it. There's not a whole lot to chew at in terms of the gameplay. It is almost like 3 melee hits in a combo kind of thing, and then you'll be shooting at enemies, waiting for your blaster whatever beam rifle to reload. Also, like I did mention earlier, this doesn't really appeal to gamers. There's far better games out there that would be worth spending your money on if you're looking for a really good gameplay experience, especially if you're not a fan of Gundam. When it comes to Gundam games, they only really appeal to Gundam fans, which is good for Gundam fans, but in terms of trying to foster Gundam gaming at large, you do kind of need to appeal to a more broader audience rather than just the central fan base. And I don't think Gundam games, especially modern ones, really do that. They deliver something that fans can enjoy, but people who have never heard of Gundam or aren't invested in the franchise are really not going to get anything out of this because, again, moving back to the point of the simple, straightforward gameplay, the clunky combat in places as well, all that kind of stuff, we as Gundam fans can forgive it because we're getting to see, our favorite stories and our favorite characters and robot designs and that. But when it comes to actual gamers, they're just not going to get anything from this game whatsoever that they can't get from another game. In fact, they can get far better experiences from many other games out there. Going back to the question that I started this video with, is this game worth buying? And ultimately, it goes two ways. Are you a fan of Gundam or are you a gamer? Because if you're a gamer and you're looking for a great gameplay experience, I would say no, it's not worth getting. And it's nothing to do with price or this being overpriced or lack of content or anything like that. It's just simply the fact that this doesn't really appeal to gamers as much as it appeals to people who are fans of Gundam and maybe more casual gamers. However, if you're a fan of Gundam, especially if you're a fan of Gundam Seed, I think this is definitely worth it. In terms of the price, $32.99 or $40 in the US, I think is a great price, especially when you compare it to some games nowadays like Mario Kart World, for example, costing double that. Comparatively, Seed Battle Destiny is a fantastic deal because you're getting a good amount of content out of it. I've put in 10 hours so far. I think there's at least 20 hours of content to be had within this game, depending on how many times you die, how good you are at the game, how much you want to replay stuff and all that kind of thing. So there's a good amount of content here that definitely warrants the price tag, and I think it's actually a really good deal generally. So Seed Battle Destiny, from my perspective, it is worth buying. So with all that in mind, I'm going to give Gundam Seed Battle Destiny Remastered a B. But those are my thoughts on Gundam Seed Battle Destiny Remastered. Before I get out there, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you are a fan of mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. Also, head on down to the comment section below. Like I said earlier, let me know your thoughts on this game if you've played it. If you haven't yet, has this review persuaded you either to buy it or not to buy it? Thank you once again for tuning into Mecha Chat today. I'll see you guys next time.